from Nigeria's economic capital and around the world. If you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for today. This morning, we are reviewing Tuesday's hashtag Day of Survival protest in Nigeria's youths in Lagos and Ondo State took to the streets to protest against the harsh economic conditions in the country.
The demonstration, under the banner of hashtag Fearless in October, was organized to coincide with the 64th independence celebrations. Demonstrators voiced their grievances over inflation, high fuel prices, and the overall economic hardship gripping the nation, echoing the sentiments of the hashtag End Bad Governance protest held in August.
Very true. And the protests were reported to be peaceful in Lagos and Ondo State, with demonstrators chanting anti-government slogans and calling for urgent economic reforms.
But in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, the situation was different as police were said to have used tear gas to disperse protesters who had gathered in the Utako and Jabi areas of the city.
The protesters holding placards with messages like "We are hungry" and "Bad governance" began gathering as early as 7 a.m. at the Utako market.
Also, security forces reportedly sealed off Eagle Square and intervened to halt the protest shortly after it began. Many demonstrators and residents fled the scene for safety.
The FCT Police Command denied claims of attacking peaceful protesters. Protesters in Ondo State defied the police warnings and staged a peaceful demonstration in Akure, the state capital. And we have in the studios together with us to discuss this and more. Cyril Abaku, journalist and public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Cyril.
Good morning, Cyril.
Thank you so very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's get into this matter proper. Yesterday it started, October 1st, just like we had discussed equally, a day Nigerians should have been celebrating and having congratulatory messages amongst themselves. It was a day Nigerians equally came out to protest against bad governance in Nigeria, particularly in Lagos. It was relatively peaceful, but in Abuja, it wasn't. Why do you think the reverse is the case? Lagos ordinarily should have been, the other part of the country where it would have been violent, but Abuja, it's taking the heat. Why do you think that is so?
So I think that if you look at what happened in August, the establishment is quite strategic in its own counter goals, if I call it that, or its own counter attack, which is basically to make sure that certain flashpoints, certain notable spots are kept devoid of protesters as much as possible. In Lagos in August, don't forget, a measure of force was meted out to those who gathered at the Lekki toll gate. They forcefully dispersed them. The same thing happened in Abuja, the nation's capital, because take it or leave it. All the major similar things that we've seen happen, Kenya, for example, Sri Lanka, for example, Venezuela, for example, even during the Arab Spring, for example, you want to look at the fact that even in America, during the Occupy in 2012, reports going out to say that a nation's capital is, in quote, under siege, is unsightly when the pictures begin to go out, say Nigeria's capital. So I think the government, and again, because government has made a sing-song of their lie, actually, that these protesters were out to change regime, which of course is a far cry from reality. But then Abuja being Abuja, they don't want this to go out of hand. Remember that only a couple of months ago, Abuja was a hotbed for bandits who suddenly found way to migrate from the north central, northwest, essentially, into Abuja, and were wreaking havoc at the president's doorstep. It was in this Abuja that some years ago, the Presidential Guards Brigade was fired upon under President Buhari. And if anything, if what Garbashi told us then was anything to go by that, an armed robber attempted to break into Aso Rock. Government is trying to use one cover to also achieve another thing, which is that maybe they're looking at the fragility of things in Abuja. If things really perhaps got out of hand, it may be too much for them to deal with. But now they may use that as a cover to now actually clamp down on, because Utako, Otago is a motor park, it's a market area. How will people ever gather to talk and then start heading towards Aso Rock, if even that was the whole idea of it? I've been in Abuja for some time. Aso Rock is a heavily, highly guarded area. It is not a place you can just stray into. You know, Abuja is quite expansive. You can't stray into Aso Rock. You cannot. So, but I think again, maybe it's paranoia. They just fear that anything that is protest is again the psychology of their own government. So they don't want to see it at all. They could tolerate us in Abuja. If you are engaged on that
in Lagos.
In Lagos, if you are engaged on that bridge, under you are, or you are at what's it called, Ojota. Well, those are flashpoints, but what happens in Ojota can be contained in Ojota if it's engaged on that bridge, manageably so. But they know the areas that they don't want to see them at all holding placards. In August, there was, in fact, the people that they arrested and put on treason trial were largely in Abuja, Adaramoye, Lenin, Michael, and co. You know, it was as if Abuja is a holy ground. There should be no. But the fact is that now that we know that government appears to have some sort of phobia for protests in Abuja, it means that the next thing that may happen is that Abuja will now become a highly contested ground, because now that they've shown their hand that they don't want to see even the least sort of garden in Abuja, that may now become the reason protesters will take this protest to Abuja the next time it likely happens. But we've seen what happened yesterday. The north was largely quiet. Taraba, Kano, Adamawa, Jos, which a few months ago we had a hotbeds of it. But you know, see, they were uncharacteristically quiet.
Okay.
And we were wondering, not because we are encouragers of protest, but just, I mean, if only to probe the psychology or sociology of why people chose to stay indoors. What happened?
All right.
Has the economy improved in the north as against the south? So just to know why exactly they didn't come about. I mean, it was only in Lagos and I think Ondo that we saw actual action. I think Kunle Wise manager, he was addressing people and he said that the government was insensitive to their plight, to the plight of Nigerians. Of course, country hard, if you know what I mean.
Very true.
But again, my personal worry is the government's victory in its ability to contain the protests or in its ability to deal with the hardship in the land, which one Mr. President admitted to in his speech. So I think these are the two questions that we should be asking now.
All right, two-edged sword, if you ask me. But let's go for a quick break, and when we return, Enterprise Morning continues. Please don't go anywhere.
Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
All right, thank you so very much for hanging on there and being part of our show today. It's still Enterprise Morning, our main conversation for today. Joining us virtually is Alester Wilkers. Good morning to you. Wilkers, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to the great team of Enterprise Television. And good morning, Nigerians. Let me also join to wish the country a happy independence 64 and stay counting. And hoping that God will keep upholding our country. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Alester. Right. Okay, let's get into the crux of the matter this morning. As of yesterday in Lagos, especially at Ojota to be precise, when one of our crew stepped out to find out some of the events surrounding the protest and how the citizens were reacting on the protest ground. We discovered that the police officers cooperated with the citizens. They went as far as sharing snacks and water for protesters on the protest ground. But in cities like Ilorin and Abuja, the cooperation between the security operatives and the protesters were not, it was not synergetic in any way. The protesters were either being bullied in a way by the security operatives. Now, but in Lagos, the security operatives were cooperating and were going as far as giving them water and snack. Why looking at the psychological aspect of this now, are we going to say that the different security operatives got different orders and are acting differently, or it was just an individual thing coming from their different units?
Well, thanks for that important question. Well, on a very, very liberal side, or on a very humorous side, I think Lagos Center of Excellence. So you go for sure. You shouldn't expect anything different. For me, the security agencies of this country is our pride, is our national asset, and we must hold them in that regard. They are doing a job that we, they are doing a job on our behalf to keep us safe and to keep the country together. So when there is any issue and the security agencies respond, we must understand some of the. I don't work. I've never been in any of the operational meetings or the operational tactical command or anything. But we must understand the tenets of their profession and how they respond with the immediate or how the threat poses itself. We have seen where security agencies escort protesters in this country. We have also seen where when the protesters go overboard and then they brought the full arm of the law. So what happened in Lagos might just be that, okay, there was a cooperation, a synergy between the protesters. And let me make this point clear. Protest is the right of every citizen. Peaceful protest is the right of every citizen. And so if you want to protest, you must be able to conduct yourself in a manner that will not endanger the other person who doesn't want to protest. So if it's in that respect, then of course the security agents will cooperate with you because that's their professional duty. But where there is that Nzobu kind of thing, I don't agree that kind of thing, and you want to go overboard, the security agencies also have the constitutional right to maintain law and order. So what happened in the law in Abuja might be different from the scenarios that play out in Lagos. Now, nobody gives them any conflicting order. There is a manual upon which they work in respect to controlling certain things. So I want to believe so. So it is for them to look at the risk profile, the risk potentials, and respond in that light. So if the Lagos State Command had money, I mean, I'm surprised that the police has money to buy snacks for protesters. So if somebody is donated money to the police to for the protesters to buy snacks for them to clean it, well and good. I'm not sure anybody in London will have. I'm not sure the person in London had that money to buy or had the same scenario didn't play out. So for me, let's us continue to hold our security agencies accountable to operate with the highest level of standard as applicable everywhere in the world, and let's also encourage them, and but let's not deride them when the issues go south. When it goes north, let's praise them. When it's going south, we must also understand their own personal capabilities. And don't forget, gentlemen and ladies, these policemen or security agencies, they are our brothers. They are our friends. They are our family members. So they are putting their own lives on the line for you and I. We must see it in that respect.
All right, thank you so very much. And we wanted to ask also, looking at what happened in Abuja, of course, which had made a front pages in some international media organizations. Al Jazeera actually had it, and of course, it's around and across the globe. How do you think other parts of the world would look at Nigeria, particularly at a point when we should be celebrating? At that point we're equally having such issue. So what do you think the perception would look like going forward?
Well, I don't know the perception when the New York Police Department went into the university to drive away protesters that have occupied the place with their end Palestinian protests. I don't understand. I mean, and police in other US cities. I don't know the perception of Al Jazeera and other people when the police in Los Angeles, California, in other parts of US had to disperse protesters dislodge them from university campuses. In fact, some of them are so beaten, some of them are still facing trial, some of them have been convicted. So I don't know also the perception that the world or Al Jazeera or whoever will have about the police in the UK, how they control their own crowd with respect to the last protest that went on when the what do you call it, the protest that almost engulfed the country. Look, October 1 is our National Independence Day, and it's a day of celebration. You see, in Africa, in Africa, we have this culture of celebration. Now, even where a wicked man dies, even when a wicked man dies, everyone knows this man is a wicked man, is a bad man. Do we go about to castigate the man while his funeral was going on? That is, even in a soulful event, we try to find a way to manage in order not to create aspersion on either the family or or the event. So everybody goes there, says nice things, and then later you cannot come back and start doing the whole backward end or the whole metamorphosis motive. So I will not expect any sensible Nigerian, and I'm not taking back my word, sensible Nigerian, to go about to vent your anger on the celebration of a national birthday, a national independence. And then that is when you choose to now want to discredit your own country, to pull down your own country, to want to rubbish your own country. I mean, that is the worst PRO. Any sensible Nigerian. Now, who goes about, even if your father is a bad man, on his birthday, how many of us came from homes where our fathers are excellent human beings, our mothers? Or you that is protesting, how excellent are you in your own domain?
So what you're saying,
the
protest is a bad move for October 1st. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a total disrespect to the country. It's a lack of it's total indiscipline. It's a lack of patriotism. Look, you can protest October 2nd, October 10th, any month in October. You can even protest on the Democracy Day. On our democracy, you can protest. But you are choosing our national birthday to go and ridicule yourself as you want to ridicule Nigeria. Anything you get, you take it. Al Jazeera can go to hell. The world press can go to hell. I will stand in defense of my country, because when US did it to their own students, to people, you didn't. I mean, what was the world saying? Or are they more human beings than us? I'm not saying anybody don't have the right to protest. No. I'm not saying you don't have the right to vent your anger. No. But when you choose to ridicule yourself and ridicule my country, the security agencies that are protecting me have my full support. And when you choose to go overboard, have my full support and my chest, my kidney, everything, that they should deal with you in a manner that you understand that our national holiday, our national independence must be held in sacred. Protest, you are rubbish. You are not better than the country. You are not better than whoever is leadership. In your own home, you are not better. You are not contributing to this country. Go and check your tax record. You might not have even paid any reasonable tax. But yet, you want the country to be the El Dorado for you. Then you want to go and protest. Please, choose another day, not October 1.
Thank you.
And October 1 must be held sacred. And must be held sacred.
Thank you, Alester. I'm still Rebecca. I saw you nodding your head when Alester was giving his own submission. And do you believe Nigerians are not supposed to even air their grievances on October 1? And if they are to celebrate the country and raise the flag, how best should they do that when a lot of them are screaming hungry and they're screaming their stomachs are empty?
No, not necessarily. Again, Mr. Wilcox has spoken very passionately. He's a dear friend and elder. I respect him a lot. But I mean, by the way, happy independence to you, Mr. Wilcox. But to be frank, October 1 is just a date. It's the day we got our independence, quite all right. How we choose to commemorate the day in a democracy can't fit into a single definition. Okay? The protest, in my opinion, is the only way of commemorating that day and to bring to attention what we've not yet attained.
So there's nothing wrong having it on that day.
There's nothing absolutely wrong. It could have been May 29th. It could have been June 12th. It could have been October. It can be any day. We saw in 2012 how we got into the new year and suddenly protests are erupted in Lagos at Ojota. My point is, essentially, you see, the conversation about making Nigeria better should never stop. It's a continuous process. October 1 is a process. It's not necessarily a day. It's a process. So if they have to come out on the streets to drive home their message, I think it was worth it for me. So whether it's independence, whether it's Democracy Day, the fact is, in my opinion, they're also commemorating October 1. But from their own point of view, they are drawing attention to the things that are yet to be done. What the government said yesterday, the president was very lofty in saying the things that his government, I mean, he said that the police will be already yielding results, which we've not seen, okay, and that very soon we're going to be at the promised land. And I'm wondering if this is the road to the promised land, how will the promised land it will even be? So we are not yet there. So if people came out and said it is on, do you know that the discussion would have been entirely different if they hadn't done it yesterday? The fact that it was yesterday, now we can even have a debate around it. They chose a day that had the ability to draw attention. And like I said earlier, should the argument be about containing the protests, about containing the hardship in the land? I think for any leader, for leadership and for any government, it should be about how do we arrest the challenges that these young men have raised. And not during the president not forced yesterday to convoke a 30-day dialogue with the youth. In a way, it could be a gain of these agitations, because if they had kept quiet and mute, nothing would have come out of it. So if they chose October 1 to draw attention, in fact, global attention to the challenges, I think something came out of it.
Okay, talking about something coming out of it and drawing attention. If we go from memory lane 2020, when we had the NSAS, if we check the numbers of Nigerians that are now hitting the streets, it is reducing drastically. And we believe that protest is the right of the citizens. At this point, looking at the way we are drifting, and just yesterday being first, on the streets, the numbers were quite small, unlike the numbers of Nigerians that would, on a normal day, hit the street of Lagos or Nigeria generally to give their voice and prevent their mishappenings. Now, if at this point we are recording Nigerians getting smaller in numbers, are we going to say protests will definitely continue to speak for the citizens of Nigeria?
I think I get your question. The real concern should not be those who are hitting the streets. Should be how many people are being converted to believe that something ought to be done about Nigeria. Between 2020 and now, how many people have took part in NSAS have jackpot, have left the country? The number is quite huge. So you cannot use those who are coming out on the streets per se. I was on the street yesterday, but I'm hurt as they are. You know what I mean? So we should be concerned about how many Nigerians are being pushed into the bracket of potential believers in, or what's the word? People who are the bracket of believing in what they are doing. During the how many people were in Nadeko? But the Nigerians were united against Abuja today, but not every Nigerian came out on the street to protest. The real issue for me on the table is this. Romena gave us an example. We've said that when you plan a protest and choose a date and all that, you may not even achieve much because you put the advance party on notice. But I fear that something organic may happen someday. Something that nobody planned, that nobody could see coming, that nobody could have. But people, Nigerians being united by hunger, being united by the fact of suffering, and let's come out and do something spontaneous, like we said in Romania. So government should wake up early in the day and honestly and sincerely address the issues that are on the table. Failure to do so is to lay the groundwork for a cataclysm that nobody can predict how far it to go.
All right, beautiful. Wilkos, I wanted to ask you, this is a very important question. Of course, I truly do appreciate your passion for the country, but let's not forget the why and how we got to where we are today. Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power, fuel was sold for less than 200 naira. Today it's over 1,000 naira. A bag of garri was less than 15,000 naira. Now it's 50,000 naira. Rice, the same thing all over the place. That is how we got to where we are today. And I'd love you to maybe throw light to this. Do you think it's okay for us to give a continuous round of applause to a leadership that consciously makes life difficult for the people, at the same time blame people for protesting against this sort of leadership?
Well, let me not correct your word, but let me make exceptions to your word. A leader that deliberately makes life difficult for the people, I think that's not a journalistic word for a program like this. And I'm sure you might need to check it again. I don't know where a leader would deliberately want to. I'm not in leadership, for goodness sake. But I think we must also give a slack to leadership in all part of the world. If you listen to what is going on in American election today, the issue that is giving Trump a bit of mileage is the economy. So, if outside the handle of the economy and immigration, Trump will have been roasted by Kamala Harris. So the Americans are still looking at who can help us better. So it's not as if the grass is greener everywhere. Everybody have their own challenges, but also you will down the negativities of the bag of rice and bag of gari. But you forgot that by this time last year, before President Mohammed Tinubu came to power, there was no enterprise TV. But it was enterprise TV. And there were not so many companies that existed. Now a lot of them are existing. Now, when we dwell on the negativity and then forget the snippets of the positive, I don't know how many people employ enterprise TV that today provides their own. That station is giving means of livelihood. Not the government. The government didn't establish enterprise TV. It is established by persons who put in their capital, and that is still in the same Nigerian economy. Now, if we dwell on inflationary trend as the only basis of judging leadership, then that is where the conversation for me is not a balance, and that is why we keep feeding the people with incitement every day rather than putting people to knowledge. I was coming back from travel yesterday. I came back yesterday from all the way from Port Harcourt. In fact, from Siri's hometown. I spent the weekend at Siri's hometown, and it was a wonderful place. Okochiri is a wonderful place. In fact, Siri came from Siri's next door neighbor. Okochiri is a very wonderful place. So I spent my weekend there. Yesterday, I was coming back, and the same argument is that we're having in the vehicle. We don't look at the positive aspect of the country. We are talking about fuel being 200 naira. The conversation about fuel has been going on in this country as far back as I can remember. The conversation about fuel and fuel issues has been going on as far as I can remember. So nobody expects that fuel should remain in 100 naira. And every time we say Nigeria is a rich country, and I ask the question: you are producing 2 million barrels of oil per day. What makes you rich with a population of about 250 million? Cyril, on Monday, I just stepped out of my house, where I'm in Okochiri, and I saw the heads of school children come back from school, from government secondary school Okochiri, just one school. That is just one village, one town. You see the children coming out of that school, and then what comes to my mind? Which university will accommodate all these children in the next 6, 7, 8, 10 years? What is the planning we have as individuals to have a better country? Now, which food are we producing that will feed this mouth every day? Look, I was thinking throughout that Monday, I was standing there, I was thinking about the entire country. And that is just one town. Replicate that into all the towns in Nigeria, and know the magnitude of the problem we are facing. And every day we blame leadership. Yes, leadership has a responsibility. They need their help. They are confused. You have a population that is not, our tax to GDP ratio is so low. South Africa is doing far better than tax to GDP ratio. It's so low. We don't pay tax. We are an unproductive population. Unproductive in so many ramifications. But we're every day expanding the problem by having. Look, this is not an argument for it. But to your question, look, as far back as 1984, when I can remember one or two things, when I started reading newspapers, a bag of rice was 10 naira. Cyril will tell you about tomato diko and rice saga. It was 10 naira per bag. Nigerians could not afford it. Nigeria was crying. So the hunger didn't start today. Cyril and my colleagues there, I didn't go out with a silver spoon. On the streets of Port Harcourt, as a small boy, I have sold pap, I have sold gari, I have sold akara, I have sold granite on the streets of Port Harcourt, not in a village. So I didn't go out with a silver spoon. But let us look at the positive side. Today, the stock market is one of the richest is one of the most profitable stock market in the world since last year. Today, if you buy treasury bills, you are making money. There are so many money making investments in this country today that people are not looking at. All we are looking at is bag of rice. Bag of rice will keep increasing. The government will not plant rice because the amount you are feeding and the production is not commensurate. So government itself, yes, they are not doing the things as right as they should do it. But I don't think any government goes to power with deliberate arms, to deliberate about inflicting pain on the people. There must be adjustments. We have been talking about this fuel issue for God knows how long. Cyril, do you know that between Lagos and Ondo State, fuel sells for less than 1,000 naira? But cross into Delta State and get to River State, our beloved state, fuel sells for 1,500, 1,600 naira. If you go to the rural area, like if you go to Bonny, my own hometown, it sells for 2,000 naira per liter. Why? You will never see fuel in Total, in Mobile, in all the oil majors, but you see fuel in every of the private stations. Who does it? It's not we that are causing our problems. How come fuel selling on those states for less than 1,000 naira, 980, 950? Cross into Edo State. They just cross the border into Edo State. And you see the madness of our people. Look, what we have today in Nigeria is Nigerians impoverished Nigerians. How come Gary is more expensive in River State than in Lagos? Gary is produced in River State in Ogoniland, in Ikoro land. How come it's more expensive in River State where it is produced than in Lagos where you import it to? So there are a lot of dysfunctionality among the citizens. If the citizens become honest, how will somebody get a truck of fuel instead of to sell it in Mobile that you got the fuel, you go and sell it in an A&Z filling station that will sell it for 2 times the price? We are the one killing ourselves, and we are blaming leadership for everything. Leadership has a problem. Their challenges are too much. Sometimes they speak with their cotton tools. But what we do to ourselves as citizens, our lack of planning, and we put everything on the government head. A man that cannot feed himself is having 6 children. A man that cannot go and see the group of children that look in the next 10 years, this profession will be where I tell you it will be worse. So if we do not address the fundamentals and tell ourselves the basic truth, if we keep blaming Bola Tinubu, we blame Buhari, we blame Jonathan, we blame our passenger, we blame Yaradua, we keep blaming. When the next president comes, we blame him. If we do not do as Nigerians, as citizens, what is right for ourselves.
Thank you, Alester.
So, brother, let me just say, I empathize with the citizens, I empathize with the government, but it's a joint work. It's not what we are discussing or inciting the people or trying to make ourselves look good or trying to, but it's a deeper problem that we all need to educate and address.
Okay, thank you, Alester. Cyril Abako, now, in what ways now can the citizens and the government play a role to be able to mitigate this issue on ground?
Well, again, it falls back on leadership. I'm glad that Lester was in the coaching for the weekend. In my place, there's a saying that when the fish wants to go bad, it begins from the head. Mm-hmm. There's another saying that no matter how much the fish stays on the rack, if the fish is rotten, the rack that holds the fish isn't rotten. Mm-hmm. So if you get new fish, you can put it on the rack again and it will hold. Nigeria as a country is like a rack. There's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Our land, our sea, it's fine. But it's a matter of the fish on the rack. And if the fish is going bad, it begins from the head. What can we do? The following people have chosen to say, if government they do like this, wait till remain for us. Mm-hmm. So they begin to do, So, but government must lead by example. The president made a choice to say subsidy is gone. It was a choice he made, which he backed with action. The president decided to float the naira. Mr. Wilcox is an account of many years standing, okay? And the charter, so he knows what I'm talking about. The president chose to float the naira, okay? Even if that was the policy, people have said float. But when you come into government, you should now look at the books and see where we stand, whether it is floatable at that time or not. Then, so government cannot share the responsibility for the policies it has taken. So what it must do is, buying a yacht, money for the first lady's office and some of the things that they've done. They clearly set the wrong example. Believe me, the day government makes a U-turn, the people will naturally follow. We've seen it even in executive fashion. Jonathan Kim was wearing 80, but Nigeria interpreted that to senators' fashion. You know, when Shagari was in power, he was wearing this white barbaric. This Nigeria followed suit. It's a normal thing. If they follow the way you dress, if the president comes and says this is our year of prosperity, even in churches, they will say the president said. Even pastors will say what the president. So government has a lot to do. Leadership has a lot. They should start leading by example. Once they do, if it may take some time, but people follow suit. It is when we see what government is doing that is not right. People say if even they can do that, then what's in it for us? People are leaving Nigeria and going to Canada, Australia, Japan, Jordan, all kinds of places, Kuwait, St. Kitts and Ives. Not because they would have gone there, but when they constantly say that they are best nothing in this for us, they run away. The president shouldn't black school in Nigeria, even the governor shouldn't school. So why should we, if those who are leading the ship don't have faith in the process, why should we? So if government will decide to say, okay, we're turning this around and we want to lead by example, I've said it before that the president can do one thing. Just my thinking, right?
Yeah.
He could just come on air and say, okay, things are hard. We're cutting down on costs. Let me take my brother off. From today, I'll just wear the top and the trousers until things get better. I'm shedding. Do you get what I mean? I'm shedding the excess. Nigerians will look at it and say, if he's serious and he looks genuine, they'll follow suit. But when they don't see any better example, you can't expect much from government. So morally and administratively, there must be a turnaround. There must be a change. When we see that change, we'll follow suit.
All right, beautiful. All right, just before we close to my last question for you, Mr. Wilkers, I would love you to maybe have a say in what Cyril said, especially as it concerns a new liberal system of government as taken over by this administration as against Keynesianism, which of course is government coming into and ensuring that the running of administration is not profit-driven.
Look, I totally agree with what Steve is talking about. Leadership. Leadership is everything. Everything rests and falls on leadership, and the choices the leader makes will either make or mar his administration. But the only point I'm making here is sometimes we think leadership is only the president, and that is where we get it absolutely and totally wrong. The president is the last man standing. He gives the policy direction. Naira is floated. President does not operate Bureau de Change or operate the state CBN. Now there are technocrats from the governor of central bank to the directors. The governor will spend 5 years. The directors will spend 35 years, or when they are 60 or 65, whatever. Now we leave those people. We leave those people that commit the heinous crime against our nation, and we are blaming one man. He will give a directive. Fuel subsidy is gone, and then the NNPC is expected to work on that directive, and they will make fuel available to Mobile, to Total, to Ajib, all of them, and they will not sell to you and me. They will go and sell it to A and Z or Cereal and Co. filling station, or one rickety one that will now rebag it and resell to you and me. So you see, for me, the argument can be anything. Is it the chicken or the egg? Which comes first? It can be anyhow. But if no country survives in the way we are going, if the directors who are the engine room of administration in Nigeria, the evil servants, who are the engine room, if they do not commit themselves to the president, even the president directive, nothing will happen. If the chief of army staff do not commit himself to using the funds or the defense architecture, using the funds made available to fight insecurity, so that we've seen in the past how defense funds are being scattered by those giving the funds to fight our cause. So there is a lot and lot. Sometimes I keep the president didn't send me, but sometimes I just empathize with the president or the governors, because the people that are supposed to carry out these activities are the ones that is making you and I to suffer. Because today, Nigerian naira has gone further than the Ghana cedis. Why? It has gone further than the Ghana cedis used to run like wildfire, but Nigerian naira has catch up and has overtaken it. Why? Does the president fix exchange rate? Even though he flooded the naira, does he fix exchange rate? What demand? What is the demand that is driving our currency? No demand. Speculations. And who is doing the speculations? You and I. Not the president. You and I. He will not tell the breed the chair what to do. Today, if the breed the chair hold a meeting and say dollar is 2,000 naira, if it goes, because the president will not tell them, oh, no, it must be 150. Then they will hold it and they tell it will be 150. So I don't know how else to approach this issue sincerely, because from my heart I feel deeply pained as far the country is going, both on the side of the citizen and one more thing. The president do not tell people to have unbridled productive of children that they cannot take care of and creating more problems. Those who have not had their own want to have. Those who already have, they want to have multiples. And the problem is expanding, because in 10 years to come, which university will accommodate them? But when they leave university, which work will accommodate this teeming crowd? Thank God for Enterprise TV and other people that are managing to establish companies that will absorb people. How many can the government employ? So we need to help ourselves. The best thing to do when you're in a pit is to stop digging. If you keep digging, you will not get out of the pit.
Thank you, Leslie.
When you're in a pit, the best to do is to stop digging and then begin to look for sand to fill up, to come out. And that's what we as citizens should do. Don't wait for the president. He will not do you. He will not buy you rice. He will not buy you garri. He will not go to farm. He will make a policy. It is you that will operate that policy. And those that will spend 35 years in the ministries that will operate the policy, and not the president. But again, God bless Nigeria. And may God continue to protect our troops. Yeah. That's my final word.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Lester. We truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we really say thank you to you, and once more happy independence to you and to the rest of Nigerians. Thank you so very much once more.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sriel Abaku.
Thank you.
Thank you, as always.
Absolutely.
Yes, for being part of our show. And of course, what else can we say? The protesters say that they won't back down.
And
they won't back down.
In as much as they won't back down, they still need to go back to their drawing board and see what they're doing wrong as citizens. Yeah.
And of course, while the leaders equally address what they need to do. Very well. All right, so that's just about the size of our package today. We'd love to say thank you to you. You've watched, you've streamed, we truly do appreciate it. But please do well to see us anytime that you will at enterprisetvnews.com, and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Ikwebike.
And I'm Choma Okoye.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.